Force. We have seen brave men and women in uniform combat insurgency, banditry, and threats. But then we're moving from that to a human-centered vision. And we know that banditry now is in the villages, communities, and we do not have a clear line. And that's why we hear the military say asymmetric warfare. It's no longer a clear view and a clear lens. And our panel today would offer a unique and vital perspective on these shifts. We're here with them, pioneers in their field, brave soldiers, and they have worked with citizens in Nigeria. Not partnership. We're going to be interrogating the strategic partnerships today and how citizens provide intelligence, support the legitimacy needed to defeat non-state actors. And our discussion today would move from the traditional us versus them to a we perspective. So over the next few minutes, we'll be talking about peace through partnerships, civilian inclusion in Nigeria's security strategy through a military lens. My name is Rimichi Taboki, and I have the privilege to moderate the first of its kind at the Gender Summit, the first panel that we're seeing military officers here. In fact, some people were asking, are we safe? And I said, very safe. This is the safest place you should be. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists. And in no specific order, I'll be inviting to the stage Rear Admiral Olubankole, Chief of Defense, Civil Military Relations, Defense Headquarters. You're welcome, sir. We can do better than that. Next on stage is Air Vice Marshal Air Vice Marshal Ibukunle Daramola. He's the Chief of Civil Military Relations, Nigerian Air Force. You're welcome, sir. Next, we have Major General E. Onoja. He's the Deputy Chief of Civil Military Affairs, Army Psychological Operations. You're welcome, sir. I would invite Brigadier General J.N. Temlong, OON, the Pioneer Multinational Joint Task Force Commander and a National Security Consultant. You're welcome, sir. Commodore I. Pepple, Director, Innovation and Concepts Development at the Naval HQ. You're welcome, sir. And we have a privilege to have the only lady in our midst. I would like to call on Colonel Dr. Susan Dibao. She's the head, I thought we would give her a round of applause. The head of Veteran Services, Defense Health Maintenance Limited, and she's a trauma specialist. You're welcome, ma'am. Yes, to the end, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Okay, yes. So, let me begin with you, Rear Admiral Olubankole, sir. As a military leader, what is your perspective on the shift from a state-centric security model to a human-centric one? And can you give us a background on why this shift is necessary? Can we have support here?
This is fine.
Okay.
Thank you, moderator, and thank you for inviting us here. It's been a pleasure. I was just, when I came in, I saw Mr. Mr. Ufot. He was a lecturer of mine in one of my organizations, and I never forgot that lecture. More than 20 years ago, I never forgot it before. So thanks for inviting us. Basically, to the question, why the shift? Pre-Cold War, security used to be territorial security. You are defending the border. That is why initially they said the military, they've sworn to protect the territorial integrity of nations, countries. But there's a shift now. Warfare has come to stay inside territories. For example, Nigeria now, we are not fighting anybody outside the border. We are fighting people inside our territory. We are fighting people in our communities. So that is what has led from that shift from security being territorial now to security being internal. And that is why the UNHCR also redefined what security means. We're talking about human security. Because unfortunately, now in the last 15 years, and I really mean unfortunately, as the CDS will say, we are fighting a largely insurgency in a largely civilized area. So you're actually fighting your neighbors, you need to keep, or human security. There are different elements. There's human security, there's environmental security, there's food security, there's health security, there's communal security. So boots on ground is just one out of 8 parts of security. So now we are talking about security is now an enlarged place. Because if you don't have food to eat, you will fight your next neighbor. If you don't have a place to stay, you will almost, so those are the things, and also education, because what is happening now is a lot of illiteracy and it's fueling, and that was why when the minister was talking about out-of-school children, it's something that the government needs to address as a matter of urgency. So there's a shift from border security now to human security. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you for putting it very plain for us to see that the enemy now is within, and that's where the fight has come to. So thank you for setting that background. And I'll go to you, General Tamla, Multinational Joint Task Force Commander. And you have worked in communities, and you got the unconditional surrender of the troops in Baga. Then, I'd want to ask, what specific civil-military cooperation initiatives did you use then to gather intelligence from the local population? And can you provide concrete examples of a successful project that you have led?
Thank you very much for that important. The first thing in any military operation or any operation that you want to do is the credibility of your force. Now, if you are credible, you will win the people. If they see you as going to do what you are supposed to do, you are not biased, you are not incompetent. You are doing your work professionally and achieving results. It draws people to you. So part of the things that we did was that by the time we got into the Lake Chad region, the whole of that area was under the control of rebels from Chad and Niger. There was no governance at all, whether from the Nigerian side, from the Nigerian side, or from the Chadian side. And so the people had been completely dehumanized. It was a situation, since you are taking gender, let me just give a little bit of it. A situation where rebels will come onto an island and attack it, and then they will identify the animals they want to eat, and then make the people in that place slaughter them. The elderly women will be cooking for them while they'll be raping the young girls and the young women. That was the situation there. So they had virtually lost humanity as we went in there. And so when my troops were liberated those areas, part of the things that we did first was to give them a sense of belonging, that they were either Nigerians or Nigerians or Chadians. And so we opened our medical facilities to them so that we were providing treatment to them. And I found out that there were children who had grown up to 10, 15, 20 years that had never been immunized at all in their lives. They don't even know what vaccinations were. So I had to get in touch with UNICEF and then got to the Ministry of Health in Maiduguri and bought some of those vaccines, and were able to immunize about 40 children, 40,000 children as a goal. To go on to that, what we did again was to use soldiers to start primary schools for them, because they had never had any schools. Now, by the time the children went back home and they were singing the national anthem in English, the parents came back to me and said that their children were only speaking English. They too wanted to know how to write their names. That was just they wanted to know. Their ambition was to write their names. So they insisted that I should provide schools for them, that they were going to join their children in school. I said, no, it wouldn't be right. But some will refuse and stand behind the classrooms and be learning. So what I did was that I said, okay, let the children go to classes in the morning, and then in the evening, after you have gone to your farms or fishing, you come for school and we start adult education for them. So these sort of things created a situation where they themselves were volunteering and coming with information to us, because we had given them a sense of belonging, and they had seen themselves as part and parcel of communities that are supposed to get what the government does. Very unfortunately too, was that even the government at that level didn't know where those people were. Because if you call the name of an island, the local government chairman will ask you, where is that one? That was that bad, because there was complete absence of governance. And here we were providing what government was supposed to provide for them. And so they saw us as a de facto government, and they were ready and willing to do what they wanted to do for us. That in itself was a very good situation for us. It helped our operations, and everybody was coming.
Thank you.
In fact, okay, please.
Oh, so thank you so much. I'll come back to you on that point. I would like Major General Onoja to build up on that. So that was over about 20 years ago. So now what are you doing to support that morale and momentum? And he talked about the absence of governance. How are you able to bridge that gap?
Thank you, the moderator. Thank you for this opportunity. Just as General Temlong has said, about 20 years ago, the military, and particularly the Nigerian Army, we discovered that there was a fundamental gap between our kinetic operations, because that department focuses on non-kinetic operations. It was created 10 years ago, and gradually the department has maintained a momentum to ensure that we bridge the gap between the army and the military and the civilian population by taking the army to the communities. In doing this, there are several endeavors or activities that are being embarked upon by the Nigerian Army. One of these include ensuring that we build quick impact projects in the localities where we have security challenges. This has helped us to draw the civilian population in those localities close intelligence in order to conduct our operations successfully. You recall that the kind of warfare, it is not nation on nation as the conventional warfare which was prevalent after the Second World War, or for which most of us were trained for. We are currently engaged in asymmetrical warfare. And asymmetrical warfare is driven by intelligence. And where are we going to source this intelligence from? Is by getting closer to the civilian populace who have that information. And again, I also want to give a very live experience. As a colonel, I served in Mongunu in northern Borno State. And one day, we're in a convoy advancing towards Maiduguri. And as we got to one of the villages very close to Maiduguri, apparently elements of Boko Haram had surrounded the village and they were harassing the villagers and all sorts of negative activities were going on. So immediately they saw our convoy approaching. They quickly notified us that there are Boko Haram in that village. I can't recall the name of the village now. It's been several years ago. But what happened was that immediately we entered our battle mode, advanced into the village. As we entered the village, we saw that the Boko Haram had gathered all the villagers in the town square. We tried to elicit information from them that, look, what direction did the Boko Haram go to? But between me and you, do you know that the villagers were so scared of Boko Haram, they refused to tell us. Why? Because they are afraid of reprisals from the Boko Haram. So what did we do? I had to use the eyes of the villagers to understand the direction that the Boko Haram went to. So we now set up a patrol team to go after them. Another aspect of the operation in the Northeast, and why it is very important for us as military to get close to civilians, is we discovered that in northern Borno, where I served, the civilian population do not really know who is military or who is Boko Haram. And that draws me to the issue of us, why we always emphasize on the use of our uniforms by civilians. You see, the average civilian, particularly in those areas where, let me use the word educationally challenged, all they see is men in uniform. So when you ask them a question, of course, they will tell you what, if they saw 10 men, but they don't know that they are giving the information to the adversary. So the adversary uses that information and causes havoc to us. So in the Department of Civil Military Affairs in the Army Headquarters, our mandate is to bridge that gap, and we do that by conducting sensitization programs on a quarterly basis to different parts of the state of the country. Last month, we're in Ibadan. Last week, we're in Kefi. Next month, we are going to Owerri. Earlier in the year, we're in Asaba. We have also been to Kano. All this in a bid to create the necessary atmosphere in order to bring the civilian population closer to us. We have helplines that you can get in touch with us in case you have any information or any challenge that you have with any military personnel. We have helplines. I think our helpline is 193 on the toll-free line. They also, we have a Facebook handle. We have so much that we are doing in such a way that to draw the civilian population. In fact, on Friday, I am going to hand over a primary school that I just built in my ancestral home. So that as they resume school, either next week or upper week, the children in that locality can begin to use that school. Because we understand that education is the key to raising a progressive and modern society.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you so much, General Noja, for those examples, and thank you that you're building on what was left Army is doing. I'll come to you, Air Vice Marshal Dawara Molasa. What roles do communities play in intelligence gathering? General Noja, General Temlong too mentioned and talked about intelligence gathering, and especially for air attacks, which you know that the Air Force works on. So how do you build the capacities of your informants? And as General Noja said, that the civilian population is afraid of reprisal. So how do you protect your civilian population, and how do you secure them from the fears of reprisal attacks?
Okay, thank you very much. Efforts that General Temlong, it is in, we know that the median age, and that's where the issue of youths come in, about 63%, from my understanding, of the Nigerian population are youth, and that's supposed to double by 2050. Median age is about 19. So engaging the youths, and that's what General Noja also talked about, social media engagement. Now, with respect to intelligence, nobody will give you intelligence except they have trust. They feel that maybe what they tell you, they are probably more afraid of the adversary, Boko Haram, bandits, terrorists, than they are, of the military. And so that is why we continue. That sensitization effort continues. The Winning Hearts and Minds program, medical outreaches, going to schools. We have air component commanders and commanders of the various joint task forces going to schools and actually teaching, meeting the parents of the children, engaging in schools. So apart from even building schools or renovating schools, putting boreholes within communities, we are also engaging physically with them to see the problems that they have. Those kinds of overtures build trust. Like you mentioned, for all the services have civil military relations desk officers across the country. There are human rights desks where you can contact where there are issues, not just within the theater, but across the country, and indeed even gender desk officers for reporting of all those things. So these officers in the various theaters are responsible for ensuring that there's a level of engagement with host communities, constantly meeting with them, with the leadership and with the community. The idea is to build trust apart from doing these activities so that intelligence will flow, and that will enable us to conduct our operations. For the Nigerian Air Force in particular, because of the lethality, the precision of air power, and the impact that it can cause, there has been, like I said, it's a very complex environment where you have the adversaries well embedded within civilian environments. So in order to conduct air operations, you need precise intelligence. You need to know where the adversary is so that your munitions will not cause harm to civilians. And so we have scaled up. Part of our civil military relations activities is to develop a civilian harm mitigation action plan so that incidents of harm to civilians do not occur. We're trying to limit it to 0 level so that the people that we are sworn to protect do not inadvertently get affected by our operations. So intelligence is key to this, but regulating our own operations, enhancing our intelligence processes, ensuring that our targeting cycles are precise in order to deconflict between civilians and the terrorists, and even civilian environments upon which their lives depend, and environments where the terrorists are known to exist. So all of these activities are just aimed at ensuring that we are precise in line with international humanitarian law in our operations, while at the same time ensuring the protection of civilians, because ultimately our goal is to ensure that Nigerians are secure and that they can live a progressive life without any form of fear. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for telling us that the civilians are the people you're out there to protect. You know, there's a narrative that says that the military does not care about the civilians, but we thank you so much for letting us know that you must get precise intelligence for that to happen. So I will be coming back. We've heard from the Navy, from the Air Force and Army. I would come to Commander Pepple to talk about how you deal with intelligence at the coastal areas and how you stop reprisal attacks. And we know there's a lot of banditry, vandals, pirates. How do you get information from those at the coastal areas, and how do you protect citizens there?
Thank you for your question. Just like my colleagues have just said, the Navy are also not left out. They are into carrying out quick impact projects to engage with the communities, leaders in peace building, dialogue with them to ensure that their peace in the community, empower the youth in terms of employment, and also encouraging them that those are qualified to be able to have opportunities to join the Navy so that they can be able to serve and also to protect the system. Likewise, the President Chief of Naval Staff also gone ahead to commence a quick impact project, that which is empowering most of the officers from different communities to be able to give back to their community in terms of solar panels, renovation of schools, building of hospitals, carrying out medical rhapsodies to encourage this youth not to go into any vices or anything. Like you said, most of the Navy operations are within the riverine operations. And in order to ensure that piracies are not being carried out or smuggling, all these interventions are being meted out to encourage them, to deter them not to be able to go into all these vices. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. So I would go to the only woman here on the panel. And we've laid the foundation of insecurity, but we'll be looking at the psychosocial aspects of insecurity. As a trauma specialist, in what ways has prolonged exposure to violence, displacement, and insecurity in Nigeria affected the collective trauma of civilians, and also your officers too? So what's the long-term consequences of this type of trauma?
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for saying the only woman. And I want to appreciate every woman seated here because it is an opportunity. Still we belong. So today, appreciate yourself that you have listened, that there is anybody, that even the plate fell in the kitchen, you feel scared. Talk less of a woman and a child listening to the sound of a bullet passing through her head. There is a big trauma. And that trauma has led much women into lack of trust. We don't trust anybody anymore. Who do I tell my problem to? I was in the Northeast from 2015 to 2018 February. I wasn't in an office. I was where I could listen to what women say. Is it about the rape? Is it about the displacement? That is a trauma. Is it an IDP camp that you are there with your child and there's no toilet, no water? You know what it is for a woman. So, if you are here and you understand that they are saying civil-military relationship, every woman, girl, child seated here should know that there is trauma, and these traumas are the anxiety. That why is this happening to us women? Why is this happening to my community? The depression, the nightmare, the ability for you to see that there is something scaring around you. Definitely there is a long trauma with. And the manifestation of post-traumatic stress disorder that comes to the individual who have seen or have had or have fallen into a traumatic event, because there must be an event. And for a woman, every event matters a lot. And with this insecurity, I bet you so many women are suffering in this country in terms of, do I look after my child or my husband that said I'm coming back and never came back to you? So let us stand up as women for us to fight this prolonged anxiety of when will this insecurity end? because it must end. Such was in Liberia, such was in Sierra Leone. The same army that we have today that you don't appreciate are the ones suffering to keep our doors locked. Let's appreciate them as women. Because every woman seated here, I bet you, if this room is closed, the first thing you will think of, my child at home. But your husband will be thinking of, how do I get out of here? Please, there is a long trauma coming along with this insecurity. We need an end to it. And how do we end it? Every woman seated here must look after each woman. If we look after ourselves, this is just a thing of a past. But when you say, no, it concerns only her, it will affect you tomorrow. When Maiduguri started, they thought it's just for Northeast. But I bet you today, every community in Nigeria is facing one trauma or the other because of insecurity. So let us try and see, as women, that we can stop this. Liberian women stopped the war in Liberia. They came together. Come together. I saw it when the flood in Maiduguri happened. When the soldiers and the community came together to see that they help each individual that is displaced. Let's look at ourselves. Let's talk. The time of insecurity may pass, but me and you as a woman, it never fade away. Because we must have love for our children. We must have lost our husbands. There are widows that never prepared to be widows. Let's help ourselves and see how this insecurity will have an end. Thank you so much.
Yes. No, you know, yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. So I'll turn to our audience so that we don't miss our audience. We get accents from the audience. Can I see your hands? If you have, there's one there. And did I see another hand in front? Yes, ma'am. So quickly, please. Straight. Can we have the microphone, please?
All right. Thank you to everyone, and I am really privileged to be here and to hear from all these amazing speakers. One thing is, we need more awareness. How can we make this effort more visible in the media, in our society? This is the first time I am hearing about all the efforts you're making. I can hear that you're working with humanitarian organizations, you're working with community leaders, but if we do not hear, we as people walking out there or being, I am a Nigerian, and today I would tell you from this program, I felt so proud to be a Nigerian, hearing from everyone who had spoken from morning till now. Please, let's have more advocacy out there. Let's have the media project what the military is doing. That's just from my side. Thank you.
Thank you for that recommendation and call to action. There was one hand there. Yes.
All right. In aspect of inclusivity, in the military, like as a visually impaired person that I am, assuming I am in the military and I sustain maybe or amputated. Now, is there a room that I can still be participating as a military so that at least I can be speaking to the people living with disability?
Thank you. So, do you want to respond, sir?
Okay, thank you very much for those questions. I will just try and attempt to answer them in a comment in one loop. First of all, I want to start with what Madam said. There is a need for a lot of women to join the military. It is very important. I'll give you an example. The last time we visited Maiduguri, there was this NGO. There are about 600 women. One of them told us a story that she had 3 children. In the Northeast, you marry as early as 17, 18. So before she was 20-something, she had 3 children. Then Boko Haram attacked the village. they killed the husband. She moved to Sambisa Forest. She was in Sambisa Forest for 4 years, 8 months. She got married. She was forced to marry the first Boko Haram person. She gave birth to a child. The Boko Haram person was killed by soldiers. To cut long story short, she got married to 3 different Boko Haram people. She had 4 children within 4 years, 9 months thereabout. Now, she had 3 children, so she has 7 children. Those 7 children, the other 4, they don't have surnames because, you understand, they just got married. So now, it is important, and that is why the Civil Military Relations Department of the military now embeds women, not in the front, but after clearance operations, because the women can empathize with each other. So they understand the language, because some women may not want to talk to men, but they can talk to their fellow women. It is important that women join the military. Secondly, these issues, so for that the women themselves can be embedded in the front to help preach this kind of thing. Then for the inclusiveness, we have gender desk, both the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and also now, because inclusiveness is not only about gender, it has to be with people living with disabilities and all other things. But you have to run so we're trying to find a way so that the military does not discriminate in any way. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to sensitize. And also, let me inform, from the recruit to the major general or the general, the military is sensitizing everybody now on what they call human security, on what they call civilian harm mitigation, and other aspects of security. And that's why the CDS ensures that they escort farmers to farm, ensures that they do medical rhapsody, because that is the collectivity of what security is. It's not only boots on the ground. And that's what I want everybody to know. Now, the dimensions of military or warfare is now changing now. There's more of empathy. There's more of communal engagement. There's more of knowing how do people survive. That is what we're looking at. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So we hear empathy, community engagement. You would agree with me that we would need another session. We will need to keep here more and more, and unfortunately time is up, but permit me to allow my panelists to give a closing statement, call to action or commitment. And I'll start with you, Colonel Dibal.
Thank you for that. The only thing I have awareness. The only awareness we need is partnering with the next woman close to you. Because when we do between us, and insecurity is something that, as a mother, I said, if we decide to do it, because no bad boy out there that does not have a mother, that does not leave the bush to visit the mother.
Thank you very much. Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. General Temlo.
Thank you very much. First, the defense policy of Nigeria is citizen-centric and is drawn from the United Nations Charter, which says that when you deploy troops, the first thing they do is to defend civilians. Now, our strategy as a country to fight this is an all-of-society approach. Now, what are the roles of citizens in these things? Unless you know your roles, you'll not be able to perform and do. The military, they are trained on what to do. We need to build the capacity of our citizens to know what to do too, to be able to complement the efforts that the military is doing. We need to train our society to be resilient, because there are marginal communities out there that are not close to security posts. So how do they survive in those areas? How do they link up with the national security architecture? How do they pass information that this is this? What are the telltale signs in their community that they see there's an imminent danger coming to them? They should be able to pick these ones and send them across. So we need to do that. But the problem is that governance is key. you will see that our local government chairmen, the governors, and the rest are the ones who are vested with this responsibility of working along with the military and other security agencies to build the resilience and the capacity of their citizens. And so everybody has to be involved. If today Nigerians say we want to end this insecurity in this country, it will end. Yes, if Nigerians stand and say it will end, it will end. It's just because we allow the few who are terrorizing us to have the upper hands. But when we dare them, we will win. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, in fact, I have been told that
We have
time
to.
we've gone over time.
Yeah.
So you'd agree with me and would plead with you, sir, would work with the Policy and Innovation Center to have another session like this, perhaps also bringing you to have a course to train, and let's see what we can do with the military so that the civilians would know their role. So thank you so much for your service, sir. Thank you so much for what you have been doing for Nigerians. We go to bed because of you, and thank you very much for your service.
Thank
God
you.
bless you, sir. God bless Nigeria. So I'd ask the board
Yeah, group
to
photo.
please come
Yes,
up for a group photograph.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for them. Thank you. So while they are taking the group picture, it is time for lunch. Lunch is now being served. So for those who have got their wristbands, if you walk out of the hall to your right, I'm sure there are ushers that would direct you on where to get your lunch. And if you do not have a If you don't have a wristband, you can stay put, and then we'll direct you on where to go in just a few minutes. For the VVIPs and the VIPs in our midst, please note that your lunch is being served at Obudu Restaurant. All right, so please, if you ask any of the ushers, I'm sure they can guide you on how to get there. Right, and right after lunch, we're going into the second breakout session. All right, so just keep that in mind. The second breakout session is happening just the way it happened now. There will be one in this room and then the other halls as well. So just keep that in mind right after lunch. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so we have to go to our breakout. Lunch ends at 3 p.m., please. Please keep that in mind. The next breakout session. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Please enjoy your meals and see you in the next 15 minutes as we continue with the Gender and Inclusion Summit 2025. Alexis will now take us away, give us what they know how to do best.
The battery's flat. The battery's fine.
This is just a reminder to our distinguished guests. Please go with your belongings, right? Your mobile phones, your bags, whatever it is you brought here, please go with them, all right? Do not leave them unattended. That is the security tip we have for you. Go with your bags, your phones, and then return with them. Thank you very much.
All right, if you don't have the band and you'd like to get lunch, please go to the front of ballroom 4. That's where they're serving lunch. If you don't have a band, please go to the front of ballroom 4. It's just next door. That's where lunch is served. Thank you. Please, our VIPs, Obudu Restaurant is where your lunch is set up.
To control someone else's life. Our goal should be to help on the margins, where we can and where it's in someone's desire and interest. Behavioral science doesn't have an answer that we all look for, which is, what's the thing I can do that will magically make my people work harder and love my company? Ain't none. Don't exist. Rather, what behavioral science really is a process. Like many things in behavioral science, we call it a bias, we call it a problem when it's the part we don't like. But just imagine for a moment that we were not affected by other people's expectations. The world would be absolute chaos. Can we predict behavior 100%? No, and thank you. That would be really creepy. Our goal should never be to control someone else's life. Our goal should be to help on the margins, where we can and where it's in someone's desire and interest.
How do you solve for the problem of present bias, particularly when it comes to creating interventions that might take time for the gains to come?
Present bias isn't a problem. Rather, it's a fundamental trait of our minds. So if you're walking down the street and you're thinking about your job and the things you have to do in a few weeks, and there's a car barreling at you, which do you prioritize? The long-term benefit of your job and doing your work, or getting out of the way of that car? Our minds are naturally wired to the present, and that keeps us alive. I say, focus on the present, darn right.
Would you say that kindness in its purest form should not expect anything in return?
I would say, as a researcher, it exists and it's beautiful. There are lots of other things that exist around it that are not that. But is that how we should act? I personally believe it's a good thing.
My name is Esiogene Adams, and I work as Gender and Inclusion Advisor here at the Policy Innovation Center. So the Learning Workshop is a one-day event, and it's a platform for professionals to share knowledge and build capacity as well. So this year, we'll be talking about measuring multidimensional poverty. We'll be taking it further to gather insights that will be useful for policy and programmatic actions. From the private sector, from the development sector, even the government stakeholders, we are expectant, not everybody, because poverty cuts across all sectors, so no one is exempted. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Learning Workshop.
It is common knowledge that corruption is a major clog in the wheel of Nigeria's development. What is not common knowledge, however, are those effective strategies to transform the landscape of corruption and anti-corruption in Nigeria intelligently. And that is why the Behavioral Innovation Lab of the Policy Innovation Center put together the Behavioral Insights for Transparency and Accountability course on its learning management system. This course entails content that demonstrates how behavioral insights can tip the scale and change the narrative within the corruption and anti-corruption landscape. So if you're in the public sector, or you're in the private sector, or you're a business person, or you're a student, or in academia, or you're just a regular Nigerian who wants to see genuine change, I encourage you to go ahead and take this course because it's simple, loaded, and very relatable, using practical examples to show how behavioral insights can be contextually applied to changing the corruption landscape in Nigeria. Go take this course.
Well, Your Excellencies, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Lagos State Women Economic Empowerment Policy Launch.
Outside of that, quite frankly, my role here is to step aside, is to continue to say to you that for us as a government, we've started from day one that want to make this government a serious he for she government. And everything that I do reflects it. It's also in my own self-enlightened interest that I do it.
The answer lies in our collaboration, consistency, compassion. This is not the time to set back. It is the time to press forward with deliberate actions to all women across Lagos State.
The empowerment of women is not a favor. It is an economic imperative, a social necessity, and a moral responsibility. When we invest in women, we are investing in families, communities, and the future of our nation.
Today is not just the unveiling of a policy, it is the affirmation of a collective resolve to break barriers, expand opportunities, and elevate the economic power of women across Lagos.
Let this policy roadmap not gather dust. Let it gather momentum. Let it inspire a new generation of empowered women in Lagos, from the bustling tech hubs of Yaba to the busy markets of Mile 12, from classrooms to boardrooms, and from informal enterprises to formal leadership roles.
Ẹ ṣeun adúpẹ́ gan. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó àjùmọ̀ṣe gbogbo àní adúpẹ́ gan. Ẹ ṣé o.
At the Policy Innovation Center, we're ready to walk this journey in Lagos State.
This is actually an evidence of a bold declaration of intent. It signifies a Lagos where every woman and girl has a chance to learn, earn, and thrive.
Thank you so much for listening, and I just really want to thank all the stakeholders that have worked together with us and under the leadership of WAPA for making this happen. We look forward to supporting WAPA through this journey of ensuring that Lagos becomes that exemplar state for the domestication of the women economic empowerment policy.
I welcome you all to this program this morning. This policy takes care of all the technicalities involved in the digital technology space.
We are actually here to witness the last phase of the project.
At the phase we are in now, policy communication and advocacy, PIC has supported technically to where we are now. And at this point, PIC is gradually going to roll back.
there's a likelihood that people will want to engage into that digital policy if it looks like something that establishes salience.
So the idea of policy testing is to actually look at, how we can make policy work from the different lenses, from the different questions that everyone is trying to ask.
The fact that the people on the government side who would be serving the government end of this policy, the people from the private sector who would also be educating the general public as they go about doing their business on the benefits.
And I think they've done very well in the digital space in Edo State. And going forward, now we are going to implement, and this project is now left with us.
And on behalf of the leadership of Policy Innovation Center, I want to present to you this policy toolkit.
I want to thank the PIC for being such wonderful partners. They have been in the forefront of this implementation, and they have brought us to a very soft landing.
The mother ended up paying an illegal fee to obtain the vaccination. For a good number of individuals in Nigeria, this occurrence is seen as normal, which begs the question, why? Mere observation insinuates that there are certain norms, specifically social norms, that help normalize such practices of corruption. But first, what are social norms?
Social norms are a set of informal or written rules that influence behavior or that make people think, oh, this is appropriate or this is inappropriate.
The Policy Innovation Center, in partnership with Bessel Global's Corruption, Justice and Legitimacy program, sought to look at how gender and faith norms intersect with social norms to sustain the practice of unauthorized charges for free vaccines and commodities in primary health centers